Everyone's perfect. We're good to go. Okay,
Lovely.
Sarah.
So thanks so much to everyone that's joined us today. We're really excited to be here with you for these free lifestyle webinars. They're here, or they're designed to support you on your weight loss journeys to help you achieve that long-term weight loss success. Each webinar we do covers an important but sometimes overlooked aspect that's really essential to work on to support that long-term weight loss. And as Ruth mentioned today, we're going to be talking about the science of long-term weight loss today. So hopefully that will be really valuable for you. You're welcome to come as often as these webinars are helpful for you. We run them on a rolling series. So if you've been before, then a very warm welcome back. And if you're new to them, then we hope you find them incredibly useful. And if there's any other information you want, then please just ask along the way. You can put messages in the chat box or you can ask questions via the Q&A. My name is Dr. Sarah Baker. I'm a GP for Boots Online Doctor. I've got a background in physiotherapy and I've got a specialist interest in lifestyle medicine. So it's a real pleasure to be with you today. And I'm also thrilled to be joined by my colleague Ruth, who's going to introduce herself.
Hi, everyone. For those of you who've not met me before, I'm Ruth Taylor. I'm a nutritionist with Boots Online Doctor and also a registered nurse and health and wellness coach. Sarah and I both absolutely love being part of our small but amazingly successful lifestyle medicine team. We love bringing you these webinars each week and really they're 100% for you. So we've written the content all about weight loss just so that we can really support you on your weight loss journeys because we know the science and what we understand about weight loss is it's a little bit more complex about than calories in, calories out. There are so many more elements to weight loss than just thinking about the food on your plate, which is really important for us all to recognise. And that's why we bring you the webinars. You have the opportunity of asking questions. We've got a few slides that we're going to share with you around today's subject, and then at the end of the slide share you can ask your questions. If you want to ask any questions, please pop them if you can into the Q&A box. If for any reason you can't find that, then please just pop them in the chat box and we'll do our best to find them. If you bring along any sort of medically orientated question, some of those questions may sit outside of what we can legally answer or ethically answer during a webinar. So we'll just direct you to some additional advice or word back to your medical providers, generally speaking. So just to really let you know, and we're joined today for all things IT and helping us with any shares by Suresh, who is one of our members of our wider team within the Boots Online Doctor Service. So we wanted to start with anyone who was here last week by just saying, how's it been? How's your week been? And what's gone well for you? We'd love to hear. Did you come along to our gut microbiome webinar that Sarah and San ran last week for us? Did you take away anything? Have you done anything differently? Has something gone really well? Has something gone less well? We'd love to know. It's a little bit of accountability that we're trying to bring into the webinar, so please do share with us anything you're happy to share. Obviously, this is a wider format, so anything you're happy to share with one another would be great, or any tips that you think that have worked really well that you'd like to share with one another. Please do let us know. Now, or during the webinar. Sarah, over to you.
Oh, is that over to me? Okay, sure. So today we're going to share with you some recommendations, what research has told us that you can do to successfully maintain that weight loss you've worked so hard to achieve. We know that this is a really essential part of that wider weight loss story, because there's a big risk that when you come to the end of your weight loss journey, whether that be you're stopping medication, whatever that is, that there is a risk that that you might regain some of that weight that you've lost. So today we wanted to share with you some important steps that can help you prevent that weight regain. And the great news is that there's a lot of research about this, and the research does tell us that it is absolutely possible to maintain that success that you've worked so hard for. The main take home is you need to have clear focus and keep reinforcing those really, really positive habits that you've established. Now, for us, it's also really important that we give you very honest information, that we give you sort of the reality of the weight loss journey. And we do know that, unfortunately, people should expect to gain a little bit of weight, so a little bit of rebound weight gain, particularly when they're coming off weight loss medication, or when they've just lost a lot of weight. And that's for a number of different reasons. As you lose weight, your metabolism slows down. You've lost some of your body habitus, so you need less calories to maintain your new body mass versus that larger body mass you had before. So we need to think about that when we're thinking about our energy consumption and the foods that we're eating. And unfortunately, if you don't change your eating habits, then there is a risk that you are going to regain some of that weight that you have lost. There's some hormonal shifts that also happen. We've talked in previous weeks about leptin, which is your satiety hormone. And we know that as you lose weight, we do have sort of less of that hormone and there's less sensitivity to that hormone. So that can actually lead to us overeating a little bit because we're not getting those same signals reinforcing that we're full and that we need to stop. So we need to think about sort of the discipline that we've established, those healthy eating habits, and really think about mindful eating. So focusing on the sensation of eating, how much you've had, and the fact that you've probably had enough. If your sort of those hunger signals have stopped, you might not feel full, but as long as you're not getting that kind of hunger noise, that's probably enough. So yeah, that's the sort of not so good side. I think Ruth is then going to mention the good news because we do have a lot of control.
We really do. And I think this is why we think it's so important. So, one of the key things is to be thinking about what is important for you. I know we talk about this quite a lot when we're talking about the beginning of that weight loss journey or during your weight loss journey. But actually, I think one of the things that we forget to think about is okay, so why is it important for me to maintain my weight loss? So, I would like you to tell us in the chat box on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being not that important to 10 being really important, what your number is. So just pop a number into the chat box. Let us know what is important to you. I'd be really interested to see your numbers. Why is this important? Why is maintaining weight loss important to you? I know for me, I was a serial sort of weight loss off, weight on, weight off, weight on person. And I never really put much effort into thinking about what to happen when I'd lost weight. I'd never really thought about the science. And I guess I'm really lucky that I have a lot of time now to research all of these things and to know it. So great. I can see some 10s coming up from Sally Ann, Barbara, Debbie, you're an 8, Anita, you're a 10. Martina, a 10. Ben, you're a 10. Ben, you've been here a lot. I recognise your name. I'm sure it's you. Alarine, 10 is really important. Kate, 10. Aledi, 9. Toyin, 19. Okay, where did that come from? That is very important. Thank you for that. Loads of 10s coming up. 11 from Chris. Okay, to protect all the benefits I've gained, 9. Eloise, really important. 10, 10. It is all those benefits. It is actually understanding. And I want you to really think today about what it is you've gained for yourselves that isn't just a number on the scales, because actually those are the things that are going to keep us in this space. Twin, you meant to type 10. Okay, I'll let you off. It's okay. No one's testing you. So we can see from everybody who's popped a number in the chat that this is vitally important. So really important. Number 1, you have to start thinking about what your plan is in terms of weight loss maintenance. You cannot cruise into being at your goal weight and then think it's done. It is not. You have to put as much effort. Sorry about this, Sarah. It is true. We have to put as much effort into maintaining our weight as we do into losing it. And this is a very untalked about subject in the media. We don't talk about weight loss maintenance. We talk all about weight loss. So this is number 1. We've got to wrap our heads around the fact that we need to make a plan. We need to make a plan of what our goal is. Do we want to maintain that weight management? Is it that we want to maintain our energy levels? Is it that we want to maintain the comfort when we walk? Is it that we're now pain-free because we've managed to lose weight and we've reduced inflammation in our body? It's about you. this isn't a competition. It's not about anyone else. So, what is it for you that you want to maintain? Because that's really important. You need to get sight of that and you need to get your fixation around that. So, let's talk about a few more things that we want to talk about.
Yeah, I think some of like a good way to think of this is almost the start of a new journey, actually. We talk about sort of the weight loss journey itself, and that's kind of losing the weight initially, but this is the start of something else. It's the start of a essentially a new way of being, a new way of thinking of yourself. So yeah, really, really important. And motivation is absolutely vital. Motivation does wear off. So we talk about your why a lot, and I think that's a fundamental thing to think about. It's almost like a grounding thing. The reason you decided that you wanted to lose that weight initially, um, what is that? You need to have an emotional connection to why this is so important to you and why you want to keep that weight off. And there's been a lot of research around this, and it's found that for those people with self-motivation and are able to self-monitor, they do a lot better than those people, that don't have that in the same way. And I think, at the start of your weight loss journey, you may be losing weight for one reason. It may be because you've got a wedding coming up and you want to look good in an outfit for that. It may be because you've got, as Ruth mentioned, pain, and actually you wanted to reduce that weight so that you could have an operation to reduce that pain, knee pain, back pain, whatever that might be. And now it might be something slightly different. Now it may be that you've realized that actually having lost some of this weight, that you've got new energy, that you just feel more confident in yourself. It may be like a feeling rather than a particular thing you're aspiring to. So it's really, really important that you kind of keep coming back to that. You really focus on that. And if there is a reason, if it's because you want, good long-term health for your family, for your children, so that you can continue to walk your dog, that you really keep focusing on that, and that influences every decision you make about your lifestyle, whether that be the food choices you make, the activities that you're doing, how you manage stress, how you think about your sleep, all of those things. They're really, really key.
Yeah, we cannot actually really overly stress. So I've just jumped several slides. Why this is so important, and I'm completely now going on to this one. So,
Yeah.
so I was completely mucked up and around the wrong way, I think, but that's okay.
So
So,
we wanted to talk as well about sort of what we consider the secrets of weight loss success. Um, and we've just got a number of sort of key points here. And health-focused habits are the first thing we wanted to talk about. And that really just means all of the things that you have been working towards, all of those new positive habits that you've created over this weight loss journey. It can be anything. It could be the new foods that you've discovered, the new ways of cooking, having kind of fresh whole foods, thinking about that Mediterranean style of eating. And we know, sort of, certainly in terms of diet, that keeping a healthy diet that you enjoy, and that's really, really fundamental as well. You have to enjoy this. That this actually helps keep weight off in the longer term. We really, really do want you to shift from that diet mentality to just your new way of living, your new way of being, making those healthful choices, those choices that are really going to nourish and enrich your body. And I guess along with those sort of health-focused habits, we want you to really focus and continue with any new activities that you might have taken up. Maybe that's dancing, maybe it's swimming, maybe it's playing tennis, maybe it's something completely different altogether. Maybe it's just dancing around at home with your family. But whatever those things you've started to do are, we really, really want you to focus on continuing to do them, because consistency is absolutely vital. I would say, along with that, though, maintain your muscle mass is really, really important. We've talked a lot in previous weeks about how that muscle tissue is that really, really metabolically active tissue, so the one that burns more energy. So please do also focus on any exercises, any resistance training you've been doing, because that's going to be really important going forwards as well. But then I guess I don't want to just be too focused on diet and exercise. Think about all those other really important changes you've made. Think about how you may better manage your stress, because we know that stress has a massive impact on weight gain. Think about your emotions around it, because we know lots of people look to food to support their emotions, and we want to be shifting away from that. We want to be thinking about hydration, about sleep, about all of those really, really positive things that can impact on your weight, and that we focused on in various different webinars over the weeks.
Brilliant.
I think, sorry,
Okay.
go for it.
Yeah, no. So I think it would be really good for us to talk a little bit more about food because it's such
Sure,
an
yeah.
important element. But also from that emotional regulation around food, we are going to be creating a whole new webinar about binge eating, not binge eating disorder, but overcoming binge eating. So that's going to be live in September or October time. And then also, I think the important thing about activity is it's about the research tells us that actually, if we just are a little bit more active during the day rather than going to the gym or doing those sort of lumps of exercise, the exercise that can really help us in terms of our long-term weight management is about just being active in life generally. So, like taking the stairs a little bit more often, getting out of the lift one floor earlier and taking the stairs rather than the elevator, walking a few sort of streets further to get somewhere, parking a little bit further away, using our feet rather than our cars if we can, which is not only good for us, but it's good for the environment too. So it's a win all around. And it's just about, if you're sitting for long periods, maybe set a timer on your phone so that every sort of 45 minutes you're getting up and moving for 5 or 10 minutes. So that you've got movement and you're really helping your metabolism to work well for you because this is really vitally important. I think we can't overplay it enough. It's sort of like making those mindset shifts and moving away from thinking about being on a diet, about losing weight, to actually, this is your new blueprint for staying healthy. And I think that that's really important. So, and from a food perspective, it's really about there is, the only diet that has huge advantages over any other in terms of our health is a Mediterranean style of eating. I think all of the research really, really supports Mediterranean diet over and above any other approach. So we have a Mediterranean style of eating. So Sarah, we've already shared the link, so thank you for that. And we've also got our core style of eating, which is a combination of a low sugar approach to eating, or sort of low glycemic approach to eating, combined with all of the elements that are healthy from the Mediterranean style. So either of those approaches, we've shared the link for both, are what we would recommend as your blueprints for learning about eating in a way that is going to be sustainable for your weight and for your health. It really focuses in on making sure that we are eating a lot of plants. And for anyone who came along to the microbiome webinar last week, we know that plants are really important at helping to promote a healthy gut microbiome. And we know how important that healthy gut microbiome is for our wider health. So it isn't that we all have to become vegetarian or vegan, but we do need to make sure that our plates are loaded up with colourful, healthy plant-based foods. And then you can add in some vegetarian proteins or some meat-based proteins. It's really up to you. Fish or meat or a vegetarian, beans and pulses and legumes, make sure they're there. You want to be still nailing that 1 gram per kilogram of body weight in terms of your protein. And that would be something that we would recommend that you continue. So that's per day. You break that down into your 3 meals. The other thing I think that we all need to consider very clearly and very carefully is snacking, because one of the things that we want you to do on your journey of health and of weight management is to manage how much insulin you're producing. So one of the things that you can really do that's going to make a difference are those plant-based foods and the protein. The next thing on the list is to really get rid of those snacks as much as possible. We talk about all of this in our Eat Well and How to Eat webinars, and we've got those coming back up over the next few weeks. So do come along to those for more information. Variety is really important for our health, for providing different nutrients for our gut microbiome, just generally for creating chemicals in our bodies that make everything work well. So try and step away from your comfort zone of always eating the same foods, because I know out of habit, a lot of us do that. And it's really good to just bring something new in, even if it's once a month. And then consider what you're drinking, because drinks can be a big part of the sort of beneficial input of what we can actually do to support our health. So really go for those clear fluids as much as you possibly can. And then think about treats as being something we have occasionally, or what those treats might look like. And if you're going for something really sweet, can you add in some protein to balance out that sort of big blood sugar hit that you might have as a result of having those? We seem to have gone through our slides really quickly today. I feel like maybe we missed a couple along the way. Maybe I jumped them.
It's just something I wanted to touch on with the secrets of success slide, which we didn't really mention. I think we just skipped over a bit. But that was, like we said at the start of the webinar, we do know that lots of people will put on a little bit of weight when they, come to the end of their official weight loss journey, if you like, if they're stopping medication and that sort of thing. And that's entirely normal. But what we would say is just be super, super vigilant. Try and correct any weight regain nice and early. We know how important this is to you. Most of you, the majority of you, have said that keeping the weight off is a 10. It's vitally important. It has such importance in your life for many, many reasons, whatever those individual whys are. So we really want to nip any regain in the bud, because it's going to be a lot harder for you to keep weight off long term if you end up in this yo-yo cycle of weight loss, weight regain. So try and really notice when you're slipping off track. Notice what has changed about the things that you're doing. Is it the food you're eating? Is it, like Ruth said, is it the snacking? Is it because you're not feeling full enough? Have you got enough protein in your diet? Just keep checking back in. Check in with your diet, your exercise, with your mood, with your sleep. Notice what has changed and try and correct that so you don't go too far off course.
Yeah, really important. And
This is about a new lifestyle, isn't it? It's not just sort of the food, it's not a diet, it's just about the way that you want to live your life in a really, really positive, energetic, healthful way.
yeah, absolutely. So here are the dates of the next few webinars. So they're coming up. We are going to be aiming to keep the webinars running on a Monday or a Tuesday over the whole of the sort of July and August period. So do keep an eye on those and book into those on Eventbrite as usual. We really want you not to have no support over the summer, but it means we're having to move them around a little bit to maintain some contact with you. We're going to come very quickly to your questions now, but I can see lots of comments in the chat box, so thank you for that engagement. I'd like to finally ask you what it is you can do differently this time if you've lost weight in the past and you want to make this your lasting success journey, which we want for you as much as you want it for yourselves. What one thing do you think you could do differently going forwards from here to make this the reality for you? I'd really like to know. So please pop any comments about that in the chat box. And we are going to come to your questions. But let's have a look and see what's coming in. So, Patricia, you're saying, don't tell myself I've stopped dieting. Yes, sorry, people keep getting kicked out because of poor Wi-Fi. That's really helpful. Monitor and quickly correct. Brilliant. Prioritize and stick to regular gym exercise routine. Keep exercise routine going. To see it as a diet, but rather my new lifestyle. Brilliant.
Yeah,
I
perfect.
think it's really great to hear what you're planning on doing. We are 100% behind you and here to help you. I mean, this is really important, and
Yeah.
it's really great to hear what you're thinking.
I
Keep
think as well, it's just nice in the chat box. So Colette's mentioned that she's now got pain-free knees. I'm too young to have replacement knee surgery. Exactly. And there's so many things you can do for yourself to correct, to modify, yeah, to sort of not need any interventional factors. You can do this just yourself. Um, And then I think I read a message that someone had lost 10 stone. That's phenomenal some years back, but sadly put 5+ back on. And the issue was they didn't cope well with being noticed and people complimenting. So, yeah, the comment there is that psychological change, that psychological shift is really, really important. And yeah, that's an ongoing journey, I imagine.
Yeah, have a plan, keep it. There's so many great comments. Have a look at what everybody else is saying as well, everyone, because I
Yeah.
think we can keep one another going with all of this. I love being pain-free and being able to move, really be accountable and regularly monitor. I think that for me, that is absolutely, it's almost like you've got to keep your eye on the ball. I mean, you can't afford to take your eye off the ball. It just isn't going to be the answer. You're going to be very easily back at square one. So,
And Julianne saying that improved confidence, the energy, it just being easier to get in and out of the car. It's just all of those things, yeah, so, so important for, feeling good in daily life.
brilliant. Okay, let's come over to your questions. So there are quite a few of them, so let's get going. Somebody is asking how to calculate calorie needs. Suresh, we have a basal metabolic rate calculator. So what you would do is you would calculate your basal metabolic rate, and then at the bottom of the calculator, the link that we share, you would then multiply that number by your level of activity. So it will give you a number and multiply it by that, and that will give you your caloric intake. The science is a little bit flawed. It's not perfect, so it's around that level. That would be the level to maintain your weight, and then to lose weight, we would recommend taking around 500 calories off from that total for each day, and which would sort of help you lose weight at a very sort of steady and sensible amount. We really don't recommend crashing your calories. We know that's one of the things that can really lead into that whole leptin resistance, which can really make a difference to your hunger hormones in the long run. So we don't want you to do that. We want you to do it slowly and steadily.
Yeah. There's two very similar questions that have come in. One is somebody that is on a weight loss medication and hearing that you have to stay on it even if you've lost the weight. Someone else asking a similar question saying about people being on that weight loss medication for maintenance in the long term because it happens in America. And is that going to be something that we start doing here? Most of the weight loss medications, the injectables, are licensed for 2 years. That's for use in this country, or certainly the licensing guidelines around them. That may potentially change in future, and it's just having the kind of research and the evidence to support how long people should be using them for. Um, is that something that everybody needs to do? Absolutely not. For some people, yes, they may need to have that additional support to suppress that appetite because they potentially haven't worked on other factors around weight loss and changing their lifestyle, changing their diet, changing other factors that feed into the reason that they've gained that weight in the first place. So it's absolutely not something that you have to do, and it's definitely not something we would encourage. We really want people to be coming off the medication and sustaining all of that really good, really hard work and all those changes they've made. And that's the reason why we do this webinar, because we want you to understand that it is possible not to be on weight loss treatment and to maintain that new healthy body weight that you've achieved. And it's through all the things that we keep talking about, the Mediterranean diets. The diet is really, really important, portion control, self-regulation, continuing to be active and to exercise, all the psychological factors. So no, you definitely don't need to be on it long term. And yes, it may be that the licensing for the drug does change so that people have that option if they want it. But that's kind of where we're at the moment.
Great, thanks, Sarah. So somebody's asking if they should eat even if they're not hungry at meal times. Yes, I think there is some suggestion that what we need to do is we need to eat to maintain blood sugar stability, and we need to. I think there's a risk. Is what I have read and what I've learned from working with lots of people is that if we sort of cruise and we're not hungry, what will happen is we will end up being ravenously hungry. And when we're ravenously hungry, we lose our element of self-control. We tend to have a capacity to overeat, and it sort of just doesn't work in the long run. And we may also then eat completely the wrong foods because we're eating out of hunger rather than in an intelligent way. You might not be that person. I'm just talking to what we generally know. Generally, it's recommended that you eat 3 times a day and have those gaps between meals and make sure you've got that protein. We talk about protein. We talk about protein a lot. We don't want you to overeat protein. We want you to eat enough protein. There's a huge difference. So you want those vegetables first, protein second, some healthy fats. All of those things together will bring satiety. So try and do that even when you're not hungry. And just try and re-educate yourself to eat 3 meals a day. 3 small meals could be, it really can make a difference.
I was
And
going to say, Ruth, the size is also important. If you're not hungry, you don't have to eat a lot.
yeah, exactly. It could be
Small
like a mini
portion.
meal, couldn't it? It could be like some hummus and a couple of oatcakes, and then, that could be it. But it's enough, and it will just stop you falling into the trap that we know happens. And I think it's just crucial. Um,
There's a
yeah,
specific question about dosage of weight loss medication and that it might not be high enough because they have food noise. I'd suggest directing that to your weight loss team. If it's the Boots Online team, just send a message through your patient records and they'll be able to give you advice about that to support that.
yeah, brilliant. So Suzanne, sorry for naming you. Somebody has said that they haven't been invited to the webinars before. Really sorry to hear that. Come every week. To come back to the webinars, you just need to sign up on Eventbrite. Suresh, if you can share the link for the webinars, please, and to sign up, that would be great. It's the same link every week, so hold on to the link and then you can just keep on signing up. We love having you here, and we know that this can make a big difference to the support. There's another quick question about food. So, is it recommended to eat low carb and low fat for success? I would say no, we don't advocate low fat unless you're taking a specific weight loss medication in which we would recommend you to eat low fat, and you'll know. So, something like an oral medication that actually has an adverse effect when we eat fat because it removes fat from our body. Apart from that, for everyone else, we would recommend a low carbohydrate, but looking at the sort of Mediterranean style. So eating those sort of low glycemic carbs, so they're sort of like sweet potatoes, new potatoes, brown rice, getting away from the white goods, the processed foods, the high sugar foods, the foods which, when we have them as carbs, like white rice or white bread, get absorbed very quickly into our bloodstream, raise our blood sugars really quickly, lead to a big crash in our blood sugars, and then we feel hungry and tired and perhaps headachy and feel rubbish. So we want to eat something else to keep us going because we're often having to work long days, aren't we? So yeah, no low
But just
fat.
say about the fats, so the low fats, I think it's more important to think about the types of fats you're eating. So the fats that we get in avocado, that we get in the oily fish, that we get in nuts and seeds, those are the really healthy fats that our body needs. They're the essential fats.
Okay. Someone is saying satiety hormones, are they affected more at the beginning? Is there a larger bounce back of weight, or is there anything different for those who have lost weight in this way? If you're taking a weight loss medication, we don't have the research to tell us. I think all of the research we've read, I'm sure you'll agree, Sarah, is that if you've lost weight very quickly, there is a very high likelihood that you might find that you will regain weight. Now, I think you almost need to look at it as a curve. So if you have several stone to lose and you lose weight very quickly in the first couple of months, that isn't thought to be such a problem. It's sort of as you get closer and closer to a healthier BMI, we want that weight loss to slow. It will naturally anyway. But as soon as you start hitting a BMI around the 30 mark, I would say you want to be losing weight at a rate of around 1 to 2 pounds a week, because that will help you have that weight loss maintenance the other side of that journey. Before that, when if you're up in a BMI, which is sort of like over 35 up to the 40s or beyond, then actually slightly speedier weight loss at that point is not such a problem. So it really depends on where you are in terms of your BMI and your journey, how much weight you've lost, how much weight you've got to lose to be in a healthy phase or a healthy body. So it's about you. It's not about comparing to others. And it is about just then making sure you're doing all the things Sarah's talked to you about today, all the things we talk about regularly, and just making sure you are eating regularly, that you're managing your stress, you're managing your sleep. All of the webinars, the whole 10-week weight loss program that we've designed, Suresh, you could share a link to that, with has got all of the resources that you can download as well. But also, it's all there because actually, all of these steps in that 10-week program are really important. Some of them won't apply to you, others will. So just pick and choose what's relevant for you.
Someone's saying that they are 3 weeks in, taking weight loss medication. Um, oh, sorry, I'm only 3 weeks in, but should I stay on medication until I'm exactly where I want to be weight-wise, or should I stop a little bit before? I'd say the choice is yours, really. Using the medication for some people can be very beneficial. It can reduce that food noise. It can just give them a little bit of kind of leeway in forming new healthy habits. And if if it's very obviously very expensive, but if you're happy to be on it and you want to use that as an additional tool in that toolkit for weight loss, there's no reason why you shouldn't stay on it until you get to that healthy weight, that goal weight that you've kind of obviously set in mind. But if you feel that it's not suiting you for any reason, whether that's side effects, whether that's cost, whether that's just lifestyle around taking the injections, then stop a bit before and see how you get on. You can do this without the medication. It's definitely not required.
Great, thanks, Sarah. Somebody is saying they've been losing weight for 2 months and is taking a weight loss medication, Manjaro, but now find their blood sugars are dipping. It would sound to me as if you possibly aren't eating enough. It may be that you may need to think about reducing your dose of Manjaro if your appetite's completely suppressed. So, don't be scared to do that. That may be something that would be really helpful. Really have a look at those eating plans, try and follow them as much as you can, the core eating plan or the Mediterranean style of eating. Try and do those small meals 3 times a day with balance. So try and make that snack, the low meal, balanced as much as you can, and really try and see. And some people find that their blood sugars will dip in the middle of the night. I was speaking to somebody about that earlier today. So I would recommend just having a very small sort of balanced snack. So maybe something like a couple of oat cakes with some nut butter before bed and see if you could get through that night time dip. So see how you go with that.
Someone mentioning that they travel a lot for work and they're struggling with motivation when traveling and they feel very tired and they're having stressful days. Travel is incredibly difficult. When you're out of your own environment, you don't feel that you've got the same autonomy over the foods that you have access to and sort of probably the times that you can eat and the times that you can do activity around that. So that is really, really challenging. I'm not sure travel is a sort of if you have a frequent and consistent pattern with that and how easy it is to plan around or whether that's sprung on you last minute. But I'd say if you do have the ability to plan around it, think about what you may be able to take to work for that working day. Can you prepare your own meals? Can you make sure that you're having the kind of fresh, healthy whole foods that we have been talking about and recommending? If not, can you look ahead to what food options there are wherever you're going? Can you sort of do a bit of research to make sure that you can make those healthy choices? If not, then can you prepare batch cook some food so that you've got, ready to go, some meals that you can take with you? It's hard when you're tired and when you don't have that motivation because it's natural to reach for those sort of less healthy, kind of more, if you like, junk foods. And then it's thinking about how you can just maintain activity through the day. Can you do little walks here and there? Can you get up? Can you stretch? Can you maybe do some squats? What can you do just to keep active? And if you can get a little bit of activity in, that's probably going to help with the stress levels too. I don't know, Ruth, if you've got any other suggestions.
Yeah, I mean, I think lots of people are in a similar boat. So I think it's about just remembering why this is important to you and just almost have that as a sort of reminder on your phone so that it pops up and reminds you. Because I think when you're distracted and traveling and away from home or traveling for days or weeks at a time, it can be really challenging. I also think one of the things I've recommended to somebody a while ago was actually creating pictures on their phone of the food that would be great to grab if they're in one of those moments where they're not at home. So it could just be as simple as protein-rich foods, the vegetables, the colourful fruits, the sort of low glycemic, really yummy fruits. Always just try and put the two together. And then you don't have to create meals. You can just almost look at it like a picnic. So you could just grab an egg, you could grab some watercress, you could grab a bag of this, you could take some nuts with you, you can take all of the things with you, just make it achievable because I think it is hard, but it's mindset. And actually, a little bit like when we talk about the psychology of weight loss, part of success is actually visualizing how we're going to overcome the hurdles. And when we tell ourselves it's a hurdle that we find difficult to overcome, we'll keep finding it a hurdle that's difficult to overcome. So, no disrespect intended, because we're all human and we all do this. But the more we give ourselves a message that this is hard and I'm not going to manage it, or I've never managed it, or it's unachievable, then that's very likely to be the story. Whereas if we start telling ourselves, yes, I can do this, I'm going to do this instead of that, you just set yourself up for success. So, good luck with that.
Framing, yeah. Someone's mentioned that what can they do about feeling tired? It makes it very hard to keep active. I think life is exhausting nowadays, and yes, it can be hard to find the motivation. It can be hard to find the energy. But I would say think about the times of day you feel less tired. If you're talking about keeping active, think about, if you feel more energetic in the morning, what can you do in the morning? How can you squeeze that into your day? Um, I'd also say maybe take a look at why you're feeling tired. Are you emotionally drained by something? Are you sleeping as you should? Is it the type of foods that you're eating that are giving you sugar highs and sugar lows? Can you isolate exactly what it is that's making you feel tired and try and kind of get to the root cause and nip that in the bud? And then maybe you will feel energetic. But aside from that, just think about the times that you would be best to do sort of activity, and then just try and incorporate that. If it is in the morning and you're busy, you've got kids, you're always running late, you've got work to go to, could you just walk to work? Could you cycle? Could you stop? If you take the bus, could you get off a few stops before? Just think about the achievable things that you can do, the things that are practical for your life. Don't make the goals too big.
Yeah, and I think it's also maybe worth considering keeping a food and symptom diary
Yeah.
just for a couple of weeks and just tracking if there are certain foods which drain your energy. For some of us, there can be foods that just when we eat them, we might love them at the time, but they can make us feel rubbish later. So just try and see if there's any associations around food. And also just really try and nail those healthy fats and the proteins. So have a look at that core meal plan because that can be really helpful in terms of bringing more energy into our bodies. We are basically a network of cells. We're like a car. We can either be like a Ford Fiesta that's just chugging along the road slowly, or we can feed ourselves like we're a Porsche or a high quality, fast, sports car. And I think it is that simple. We don't have to make it a big mystery. It's about treating ourselves in the way that we want our bodies to be able to perform. I think we forget that. So somebody's asked a question about whether it's possible to lose weight successfully without calorie counting. Absolutely. We absolutely don't recommend calorie counting. There are times when perhaps if we're stuck in a plateau or we've lost a lot of weight and our basal metabolic rate has changed significantly, it may be worth checking in and just doing some calorie counting for a couple of weeks just to get a sense of proportion in terms of portion sizes that would be healthy for us. But calorie counting is really boring, and we know that generally when people are calorie counting day in, day out, they start becoming really bored, making it up. It sort of loses that focus. So we don't recommend that. We recommend you learn to eat the foods that are going to be there for you, that are going to turn up for you and are going to help you be healthy now and in 6 months' time or in 3 years' time. Because actually just following those Mediterranean dietary approaches, the core meal plan approaches, those are ways that are not just designed for you to lose weight healthily, but actually that maintenance. So please do, take your time to have a look at those. They're really simple. We've created them in a simple way to make it easy. And if you're on a GLP-1 medication, they're absolutely safe to be using alongside those. So, yeah, I hope that helps.
Someone's had a back injury when they've just started their weight loss journey and they're worried that it's sabotaged their efforts. Any advice how they could keep successful with minimal movement? Absolutely. I mean, what you're eating is probably going to be the most impactful thing you can do in terms of your weight. So really focus on yeah, high quality, nutritious meals, portion sizes, making sure that you're not overeating. And then just do whatever you can movement wise that sort of isn't going to aggravate your injury. And when that resolves, then you can focus on the exercise component.
So somebody's asked a great question. Is some rebound weight gain inevitable regardless of how well you do with changing your approach to food? That's a really great question. I don't think any research has been done. I think all of the research is around people who are on this sort of weight loss journey and then come off the weight loss journey. So I think it is very much around you and your journey. And if you learn to challenge yourself, to learn to eat those foods that really like you back, if you learn to keep active and you lose weight in a slow and sustainable way, then you're going to have less of a rebound weight regain. It may be possible that you just can cruise and plateau when you hit your weight loss goal and you don't have that weight loss regain. So it is, everybody's going to be different. It's all going to be on the speed and what you do to lose that weight. A lot of the research is conducted on people who are losing weight in a potentially fast and non-sustainable way. So it's difficult to know. And obviously, it is about funding for those studies because not many people are interested in healthy approaches and studying that.
Someone's just mentioned that there's a bit of a gap in our webinars, and they would like to see a webinar specifically for those buying weight loss drugs. And we can certainly look to do that if that would be helpful.
I really like your comment, Ben, and I agree with you. So maybe there is a bit of an overgeneralization about calorie counting. It doesn't work for everyone, it does for you, and you have found it to be really helpful and has been the way that you can reliably lose weight. So thank you for sharing
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Somebody asking whether we should eat at the same time every day. No, that doesn't always work. It doesn't always fit in with our lifestyle. As Ruth mentioned, trying to keep a sort of relatively consistent approach, whereby you're eating about 3 times a day, just to support your blood sugar balance, so you're not getting these sugar highs, sugar lows, and then kind of cravings for food. So just do whatever works for your lifestyle. But just be mindful that you don't want to be getting to the point that you're starving and then, overeating because you're so hungry.
Somebody's asking for the recording of previous webinars. So, Suresh, could you possibly share the link for the webinar recordings, please? That would be great.
There's a few specific questions about weight loss medication, Manjaro, about sort of taking it back step by step, and also side effects. I would suggest that you just throw those at your weight loss provider. If it's us, we're very, very happy to give you detailed advice and guidance about sort of the best thing to do. So just pop a message to your weight loss team and they'll be able to help with that.
Have we shared, Suresh, have you shared the feedback link? It'd be really helpful to gather any feedback that we have from today's webinar, if not. Thank you. So if you don't mind taking a couple of minutes to look at the feedback form, we really appreciate any feedback that you can give us, and we will be here for another 10 minutes, don't worry. But please do take a moment to do that. It's really helpful to us and also for us to understand if there's anything you would like us to develop additionally to what we've already got in place. Somebody's saying she's doing everything right, but worry when she does get to a happy weight and comes off Manjaro, the food noise will come back despite eating much better. I don't want the food noise back. Come to the webinars as much as you can. It isn't a feel safe, but I think it is also about learning to eat in a way where life becomes a bit more sustainable. There is no magic bullet, apart from for many people, some of the weight loss medication does seem to be that in the short term. But actually, satiety and hunger, it's all about our heads it's all about dopamine. It's all about getting that sort of lift in our mood. It's a variety of different things. So it is also about inflammation. So eating in a way where our insulin levels become more balanced. We always will need insulin to be produced, but we want to calm inflammation down. There's big links between how our brain is functioning, how our gut is functioning, how our insulin levels are. So if we're eating in a way where we're balancing our blood sugars, our brain inflammation will calm down. So that will really help in terms of brain messages as well. And also reprogramming. So maybe one of the things you need to be doing if food noise was something that really bothered you before you started on this journey, it's about also reassuring yourself and giving yourself some positive affirmations that you can do this because we maybe also need at some points in our life to almost give ourselves rules around food. So it may be that actually you could come off that weight loss medication, you might get some food noise back, but actually then one of the things you need to do is just have some rules in place because I think we have lost our rules, haven't we? If you look at what our grandparents did, they would eat 2 or 3 times a day. There was no snacking. The supermarkets didn't even exist. They just had small corner shops, and actually food was so much less available. But we're not really talking about real food, are we? We're talking about those processed snacks. So, where is the place for those in our life if we're somebody who really suffers with food noise? Maybe we just have to get real about what we can and can't do and put some rules in place. I know that sounds so oversimplistic, but in some ways it is as simple as that, don't you think, Sarah?
Oh, simple in principle, but maybe hard to do in
Not,
practice, but
yeah.
absolutely agree. Yeah, yeah. And a lot of those processed foods are not real foods at all. So yeah.
How
Just
do you know
maybe
if excessive inflammation is improving? Can it be measured? Yeah, I mean, it can be measured by your GP. So they can do something called an ESR and a C-reactive protein or a high sensitivity C-reactive protein. They may or may not do those as part of a standard blood test, but also just level of pain, joint stiffness, movement, um, those types of things can really make a difference to knowing whether you've got inflammation sitting in your body and also just how well your gut is functioning, how well you feel, all of those things. Also, blood sugar can be a real sign of inflammation. So, you can get those continuous glucose monitors. They're really interesting. So, some people find that stress is one of the things that really increases their blood sugar, or when they're using one of those continuous glucose monitors. So that can be an inflammatory trigger for some people. So all of those things. So yes, absolutely. But just learn to recognize the signs in your own body and monitor those.
yeah. We've got a question or a mention of somebody that's plateaued in their weight loss for the past 6 weeks, still a stone away from target weight. Is there any advice about increasing protein or anything to kickstart? But it's fantastic that you've done so well with your weight loss and that you're only a stone away from your target weight loss. Well done, that's amazing. Weight loss plateaus are a very normal and important part of your weight loss journey. It's almost giving your body an opportunity to recalibrate to a new normal body weight. And as we mentioned, you do need to constantly be rethinking, reevaluating what you're eating, how you're eating, how energy dense your diet is, because your body does not need as much to support itself as you lose weight. So I'd probably say to just take a sort of an overview of everything that you're doing. Have you continued to think about reducing portion sizes a little bit, the energy density of your food, how much protein you're having so that you're still feeling full? I think someone had asked how much protein one should have in the diet, and it was 1 gram per kilogram. So that was the number that Ruth mentioned. Are you getting enough of that protein? There is kind of no magic bullet with the restarting, kickstarting the weight loss. It's just keeping the discipline, keeping the consistency. And that's the thing that's really, really hard to do, but is the most important thing to do. But like I said, I would just make sure that as your body weight's going down, are you making sure that's in line with energy consumption?
Yeah, and just make sure also just a couple more things. I think one thing we can do if we really are getting dispirited because we're in a plateau phase is have a mindful treat meal, because actually just wriggling around and just challenging your body by giving it something really like high calorie on a one-off occasion can just give it the sort of like nudge to help you lose weight again. So that can work once a week, just one treat meal. Make sure you're drinking loads of water. You need to be making sure your urine is nice and pale, really pale color. Actually, I found a nice little chart of urine colors the other day, so I think I'll find that and start sharing that on the webinars because I think it's really helpful to see what it should look like in health. So make sure your sort of like wee is nice and clear yellow as well. So then you're properly hydrated. See how you go. Somebody's saying they tend to eat a lot of fruit because they are disabled. So it's much an easy thing to grab and have at breakfast. I would say just try and grab some protein rich something or other to go along with that. So, and make sure that the fruit that you're choosing is low glycemic. So things like apples, pears, berries are going to be, if you could grab maybe like something like a carton of natural yogurt, just a small one, that might be easy to do, or some hard-boiled eggs, or a piece of tortilla, or some nuts, just anything really. There don't have to be rules around eating. So some people are really happy to have chicken for breakfast, or fish, or tofu. It really is about you, what your tolerance level is. So just do whatever you're comfortable with, but just have it you could have some leftovers from dinner for breakfast. We don't have to follow the breakfast rules. It doesn't have to be a cereal out of a packet. Um, I think if you're having sugar fruit on its own, it's very likely to be having more of a hit in terms of boosting your blood sugar, bringing it up maybe a little bit too high. And so you want to sort of balance that out. So some nut butter, like a jar of almond butter, you could use that as a dip, or a couple of tablespoons of that you could dip your fruit or cover over your fruit. Just anything simple, really. Would you agree, Sarah?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a question about stopping taking weight loss medications. And is it easier if you step down the dose versus come off cold turkey? I'm not actually sure there's been any particular research about this. In essence, I think it doesn't actually matter too much how you do it. It's whatever works best for you. Some people find that coming straight off is incredibly difficult, and they do need the stepwise work down. It just reduces that kind of food noise a little bit. They feel a bit more confident still having the reducing dose of the medication for a longer period of time. But I'm not aware that it affects the success of your weight loss or rebound weight gain, whether you come off straight away or whether you reduce the dose.
Somebody's asking about the links. So you can grab those from the Boots Online Doctor 10-week weight loss program.
Someone's asking, sorry, Ruth, I've just got rid of the question, but it was a formula for carbohydrate.
Yeah,
Is
I
there?
saw that. There is no rule. We don't have a formula to share with carbohydrate, and we want you to be low carb, but that really is quite a broad range. We want you really to be thinking more about the complexity of the carbohydrate that you're eating, and also maybe to be using carbohydrate as your fuel source for exercise and energy. We do need carbs. I know there's a lot of sort of low carbohydrate recommendation. There's a lot of keto advice. We are not advocating that. Keto is very much for people with specific health problems or needs to be managed with a medical person on a one-to-one level. It's really not something we advocate as a long-term healthy approach to weight loss, but low carb is fine. And just switch over to those more complex carbs, the ones which help your blood sugars to stay more balanced, the ones which don't have the sort of hit in terms of your blood sugars. So you want to be going for the brown rice, small amounts. We've also really displaced our understanding of portion sizing when it comes to carbs because we've gone into a culture where we almost put those carbs on the plate first. So I'd say put them on last, put them on as a portion rather than a plate size portion. And I don't mean that in any bizarre way. Brown pasta, yep, that's fine. Again, 2 or 3 tablespoons. We don't need much. We need a small amount. So think about salad sized potatoes, new potatoes. You want a portion which is 2 or 3 of those. the same sort of size with pasta or with rice, brown pasta. Um, those would be what we would very much advocate. Um, does peanut butter count as butters? This just popped up in front of my screen. Um, I'm, I love peanut butter, but I don't think it's quite the same. I think if you're choosing a peanut butter, go for one which is fairly pure and it's just the crushed up peanuts. But actually, from a health perspective, almonds win the race all the time. And don't forget, peanut is a legume rather than a nut. So it's not a true nut. But it can be delicious and it can be something that you can add in with that fruit and get away with it. And it makes all the difference. So yeah.
And someone's just asked where they can find all the links that we post in the chat for a later stage. Everything is actually on the website. So you should be able to find all the information at the Boots Online Doctor website. That's the webinar links. It's the 10-week weight loss program. There'll be links to the podcast. It's all the resources that we share. That's all on the website. So you don't need to worry about keeping the kind of links to the chat. It's all on the website.
Brilliant. And in terms of final question, I don't know if you answered this, Sarah, but there's a few questions about Manjaro, whether you should decrease it slowly as you're getting closer to your goal weight. My recommendation is yes, you want to wean yourself down as much as you can, I would say, and use it in as low a dose as possible during your journey anyway. Do all of the supportive lifestyle measures alongside it for that long-term beneficial outcome. So, Sarah, last word from you. We're at 2 o'clock. Thank you.
Yeah, I think there's still a lot of questions. So just apologies that we haven't managed to touch on all of them. There's a lot of questions around weight loss medication specifically. Like I said before, I would encourage you just to just to message us through your Boots patient profile, and we'll be able to answer all of those questions. I'm sorry we haven't got onto them
Yeah.
all today.
And bring them back to next week.
Yeah, bring them back next week and we'll get through what we can next
We're
week.
here on Monday at 1. So
But
please.
thank you so much for all your questions. It's been a really engaging webinar and lovely when we have this level of interaction. So thank you.
And Suresh, thank you. You've been so busy.
We
Thank you
have.
for sharing all of those links and have great weeks. We'll be checking in at the beginning of next week's webinar. Let us know how you're getting on. Let us know what's worked for you. Keep track. Really be on it for yourselves, and we'll be on it with you.
And congratulations to everyone that's got this far. You're doing really, really well.
Great.
Keep it going.
Perfect. Bye, everyone.
Bye.